Hello, Reckoning 7 and welcome. It is a wonderful Wednesday evening, which means that we can forget about the trials and tribulations and masquerade themselves as our everyday lives, and once again lick our tongues across the sugar cube of relief. It is a few hours of pleasant gaming, and that's what we had ahead of us. Well, that's what I have ahead of me. I don't know what you guys are doing. And what pleasure we have this evening, because Old World Blues has been updated. So those of you who come across my Twitch regularly know I rather enjoy this Fallout mod, and for Hearts of Iron, and play it regularly. I have this one series, I think, on my YouTube channel, but I don't put too much of that stuff up there. There's plenty other bigger HOI YouTubers than I, but I thought they've just released their 5.0 update with a bunch of new content. I fancied giving it a stram, and I thought, why not release it on the UpTubs while we are at it? So for anyone completely unfamiliar with this, is of course the Fallout universe, and they've taken all the stories from the Fallout games, built it into HOI, and then just gone mad with the spare space and just filled in loads of characters and stories and countries all across the US and Canada and Mexico. And it is a whole bunch of fun, so that's what we're going to dive in and take a look at. So, we're going to go into a single player. We're going to start a new game. So this is the two areas they've tweaked in the 5.0. So some of these countries did exist, but there's a whole bunch of new countries and new focus trees. We're going to jump into the Canadian Prairies. Because why not Canada? And I was having a few thoughts about who we were going to be. And I was tempted to do the post-apocalyptic communists, because who doesn't love a bit of communism? And I was really tempted because I love the artwork there. I think that's cool. But I was going through, and I quite liked there's a kingdom vibe here, and I like the idea of kind of post-apocalyptic knights and aristocracy and all that good stuff. But the kingdom is actually, this kingdom of Mantobia is run by a ghoul, and we've just done 2 ghoulish runs in the warm-up to 5.0, so I fancy doing something different. So I think we're actually going to have a go as the Duchy of Langenburg, which is part of the kingdom, but is run by HOMIs. So we are proud as the last duchy of the kingdom of Mantobia. There was a war of secession earlier. When we get to the map, you can see those traitors that broke away. And we've been picking up the pieces under our kind and benevolent ruler, Duchess Sophie. So in terms of spirits, we have the Langenburgian army. So we less attrition, more attack. We also have some spirits around, or themes around the legend never ends. The Yorktowns, who are kind of educators and judges, and then we have the Knights plot. So yeah, looking at what happens when we move on and who succeeds us. Alright, let's jump into the map and have a look. So here we are. So this is the Duchy of Langenburg. We've also got the rest of the kingdom of Manitoba there, and then these 3 countries all broke away, I think, at some point. Certainly our overlord has a truce with them. So I'll try and do a little bit of explaining for you who's entirely unfamiliar with the mod, but not so laborious as to anyone who's too familiar gets dulled by it. So yeah, they have a truce with these two. So I think we have the old parts of the war, and here we have in our duchy, and we are within the faction within the kingdom of Mantobia. So we're friends. We're not subservient, I suppose, actually, because we're not a puppet or anything. We are free and fully independent, but we're in a faction together, which, okay, I feel better about that. Cool. Okay, so there's the usual Hearts of Iron things to run through at the start, into our research, our focus, etc., etc. Okay, so for research, so it's all fairly familiar, but obviously has been entirely updated to post-apocalyptic themes. But there's the usual kind of infantry, support equipment, airplanes, navy. There is some different stuff. So you've got likes of robots is different, and they've done some of their own land doctrines. And also there's a lot more tech here, but broad brush, same kind of style. So we're going to start with the usual, I suppose, very typical Hearts of Iron way. We're going to research some research tech, and we're going to pick up some construction tech, which is this one. And we'll pick up some production tech as well. So max factories, production efficiency, all fairly bog standard stuff. We do have one left over, I suspect we are... Oh, we don't have... Some of this. Oh, that's nice. I like that. So traditionally, in the rest of the Fallout, the basic melee weapon is like a pipe ring, or just a bent piece of pipe actually, and they replaced it with a sword here. That's cool. I like that. Oh yeah, we've updated some of the weaponry as well. Interesting. But I need to say what we want to do with our last research slot. Is this ahead of time? These are not ahead of time. Okay, so again, we can take this tooling one, which just makes our factories more efficient. That's all we have to. There's the long and the short of that. And I always tend to focus on industry and economy to kick things off. Cool. Okay, civilian factories. Again, I usually like to start by just doing a bit of infrastructure and then flip into pushing out factories. We've only got 3, so unless we get some from focuses, that's not going to be particularly many. I might be tempted to build just a couple first. And these are going to go slower because we don't have as good infrastructure. Oh, and we've got an army with a state modifier. Where's that? Doesn't show. That's not showing up. What? That was our last... Our last run we had that modifier. Or is it one of these ones down here? Oh yeah, it's our economic policies. Okay, yeah, so we're all the way at the end of this one, which means us build things much slower. Well, that's rubbish, so we're going to have to go and conquer stuff. That's okay, we can do that. Okay, let's throw over the divisions we've got in here. They look all fairly standard infantry type boys. And indeed, we're called the Langenburgian Standard Infantry. Our manpower 1,000, that's okay. The manpower scale is different in the Fallout, so don't panic when you see only 1,000. So let's maybe, well, I know, throw in we got 4. I was trying to get our 4 going. We'll see where that ends us up. It uses essentially all our manpower, but it's fine. It's fine. There'll be a million decisions, which again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through right now. All the various different systems we've put in place. Let's keep that one on the go, actually. And there's a whole bunch of tutorials and things as well, which you don't need. Okay, let's get rid of that. We'll come back to those as and when. National focus. So this is quite a small tree to start with, and I did check this before the stream. I'm hoping it then expands when something happens, or is this going to be a short run? Okay, the last duchy, Langenburg even. Langenburg is the last standing duchy of the Kingdom of Manitoba, having survived attempts by both the Republicans and the Electorals to relegate us to the history books. Cool, alright. So a lot of the kind of emergent story is going to be through our focus tree and the actions therein. I don't know that much about it, which is what I quite enjoy. Okay, you are awesome. You are Field Marshal. Yeah. Yorktown. Oh, there's a lot going on. Yorktown, done. Okay. This is about the economy they added in 4.0, which I know how to do. So, oh, I like the Canadian dollars rather than caps. Ha, that's cool. Okay, the Duchy of Langenburg came into being over 1.5 centuries ago when our ancestors pledged their loyalty to the newly proclaimed King of Winnipeg, Gun I, with the Kingdom of Manitoba being proclaimed shortly thereafter. Our lands prospered, the royal borders stretching all the way from the Shield Wall to the Old Cadet. Sadly, all good things come to an end sooner or later. Unable to brunt yet the inevitable march of time, the great unifier eventually abdicated. The crown was passed on to the king's longtime friend, the Duke of Brandon, who over the course of his reign would succeed in unifying much of the south, today dubbed as the Crownlands. Over the generations, the once esteemed line grew ever more complacent and decadent. Classic. As did those of the Helm Realms duchies, plunging the king into chaos, all except us. Our ancestors stood true to our values, toiling the fields day and night as the royal court drained the coffers in the name of lavish dances and never-ending banquets. In time, the cracks began to show. The first disaster came with the loss of the kingdom's southernmost territories, held by the Duchy of Warwick, to a bloody revolt that would eventually lead to the formation of the Metis Congress. The second came shortly thereafter with the secession of Winnipeg and the neighbouring territories, which culminated in the devastating War of the Republican Coalition. Which is... where's Winnipeg? I don't know where Winnipeg is. That'll be down here somewhere. Anyway. The electorals seized on this crisis, annexing large portions of the Duchy of Albascon, while the bulk of our army was occupied down south. The remote Duchy of Angers was swiftly carved up by mercenaries and scoundrels, while the Duchy of Dauphin was forever crippled by the devastating surprise attack on its royal port during the tail end of the conflict. One after another, they all fell. By the time the dust settled, only a remnant of their trade lived on through us. Of their trades lived on through us. Right. Blah, blah, blah. So we can pick one of these, which is going to give us a boost. We can go for... Oh, we can go for robots, which would probably help with our manpower issues. I don't know how industrious we are given we're an army with a state. But we can certainly think about that. We can do just more money, which is me. We can do shipbuilding, which I think is still mainly pointless in this mod. Although there's some cool stuff you can do, but I don't think it's much value. Or we can do this annexation cost during peace conferences. And a better offensive stability. I mean, do I want to go into robots? We did kind of tanky stuff before. Let's have a quick check, actually. So if we go to our tech tree, one of the things you can look at is this last thing here, which is tech level. So not everyone gets to research all the things. You can see there's 3 bands, and you are restricted in certain places. So for us, for example, we can only get basic air tech. That's all we can get, unless we find something and it's scavenged. Oh yeah, we have no special forces, no power armor, hardly any vehicles, and just basic robot. I hope we can improve some of this, because we're not looking too hot. So, yeah, okay, given how rubbish everything else is, let's go for robots. Why not? We'll try and see if we can build up enough of an industry to support that. Alright, the miracle on the border. The War of Republican Coalition appeared doomed from the start. Winnipeg's rebellion deprived the kingdom of its industrial heartland, forcing it to stretch its resources beyond breaking point once the Metis Congress and the electorals entered the conflict. Amidst the fighting, Langenburg appeared easy prey, and yet the Duchy would, in the end, prove to be their burial ground. Cool. Alright. Okay. Sorry, I was still moving around looking at city names. I'm like, must be around here somewhere. I'm sure I have several people shouting out the screen. Alright, in the early morning of the second day of the War of Republican Coalition, the Metis leader, Antoine Beausoleil, marched into the outskirts of the city of Yorktown, flanked by over 25,000 of the Congress's finest soldiers. On the Langenburgian side, great word, unbeknownst to the enemy stood Marshal Leif Yorkton. He was concealing an army less than half the size. One spawned by an uneasy alliance between the Duchy's military and exiles from Regina who had taken up residence in Fort Cap Hell. Assisting them was a coalition of the kingdom's most elite knights, hailing from the legendary orders of Archangel, St. Peter, St. George, and Justus. The battle began with an artillery barrage targeting the city walls. To Antoine's surprise, fire was instantly returned from a nearby forest, obliterating his position. Despite the ensuing chaos among the Metis lines, Antoine was able to consolidate his ranks before the Langenburgian troops could descend on them, ordering a hasty retreat. The move would prove disastrous. Seeing an opening, the Marshal launched into a horseback charge alongside a squad of knights. The subsequent pursuit would break the Metis lines for good, earning the Duchy an unlikely victory. The Marshal could not deem his victory absolute. Antoine had managed to scurry away, and Yorktown's daring charge had claimed the lives of some of the most elite knights, including that of Torgeir Waybrun, Grand Master of the Order of Archangel. Archangel? Archangel! Nevertheless, a crucial battle had been won on that day, and one that allowed the Marshal to march east and face the bulk of the Republican forces. Alright. We get attack bonuses against, and defense against Metis Congress. Ooh. So a lot of this we're getting obviously now is our history. But Yorktowns. They've served our family faithfully since the inception of the kingdom. They are the backbone of our court. Okay, good. We'll see what the event says. I wanted to check production. What we're producing, how many factories we've got? 4 whole factories. Yeah, that's fine for now. We'll have to work on some robot tech.
Good, sir.
Do we have a commander? We do. We will do. Okay. Leif Yorktown's father, Joram, was the first of his house to serve as the Duchy's marshal. He would leave this earth having established a reputation for fierce mental elasticity, thanks to a methodical and introspective approach to battlefield planning. His descendants were determined to live up to that legacy. Leif sought to mitigate the drawbacks of his father's approach, combining Yoran's knack for extensive pre-planning with a more personal approach to combat that emphasised the marshal's role on the battlefield. Eleanor, Leif's daughter, instead saw untapped potential in her grandfather's baseline ideas. She argued the importance of even more long-term planning initiative, such as intensified special training and the teaching of military history. Which perspective are we going to pick? Army experience game, daily command power, or training time? Take experience game over everything. Thank you very much. The State of the Duchy. The yearly State of the Duchy address is upon us, a chance for the Duchess to give her subjects a glimpse of what's ahead. The Marshal is to receive the written statement by a royal courier ahead of the ceremony as per tradition. So a lot of these opening events are fairly wordy. They do kind of set the scene. Things will change after that. I'll go scavenging, see if we can find some new tech. Good. So we have a big riverboard here. Do we have any crossings? A bridge, 2 bridges, 3 bridges. Okay. Okie doke. So why don't we set ourselves up? Defending set of crossings. Oh, no, it's a whole river you can walk across.
Hello.
Okay, my army's definitely not big enough, that's for sure. Oh boy. The Lord had woke in the dead of night. A royal courier donned in black awaited him at the front door. Yorktown felt his heart sink as the man handed him a letter marked with the ducal insignia. No words needed to be exchanged. Both knew the messenger had arrived too early in the week to be delivering the state of the duchy. The man and my lord left for the capital the very same night. As he galloped, Yorktown's mind wandered. In his head, pictures of a great white shore were forming, an incandescent ball with flames setting on the horizon. He was young. He was crying. The Duchess of Absalon did not want to play hide-and-seek with him. He'd gone to hide away in the storeroom, but Sophie tracked him down. She knelt next to him and embraced him, patting him over the head. You know, Leif, you can be the juiciest fruit in the orchard, but some people just don't like fruit. And that's okay, life goes on. Have you asked the Duke of Dauphin if he'd like to play? That was the first of many lessons. Then came the schooling, the fencing classes, the council shadowing the hike trails. Yorktown's thoughts were interrupted as a gust of cold wind washed over him. The rest of the ride was quiet. Neither him nor the courier wanted to dwell on the knowledge that she had taken her final breaths. Oh god, that was quick. Oh! Okay, we are now Leif Yorktown. Interesting. Council focus state of decay. Oh. So I wonder if oh god, there's our focus tree. I wonder if it's like a percentage chance and you can do some of those events, or if they're just purely there to lull you into a false sense of I'm going to get a little bit further down this tree before anything happens. Interesting. Okay. Time stops and once again marches forward. Bells were tolling across the city as they arrived, for the people had been informed of a tragedy that had just befallen the duchy. The lord dismounted as he approached the capital's boulevard before making his way to the ducal palace on foot. Sophie's loyal butler, Tobias, watched him emerge from a sea of mourners that had gathered at the foot of the gates. The lord held his head high, although Tobias recognised it for an act that it clearly was. His eyes betrayed the knot that had formed in his throat. The crowd parted as he advanced, some offering words of condolence to him as he passed by, for some little more than a formality, for a most cathartic act of grievance. Tobias pulled open the palace gates, allowing Yorktown to squeeze through. They entered the immaculate halls and approached Sophie's resting place. The lord's hand laid on a handle. Expecting his dismissal, the butler made to leave. Instead, Yorktown asked him to stay. Without turning to face him, he muttered, "This is their fault, Tobias. It is because of them that she has left us, left me." Tobias remained silent, unsure of whom he spoke of. Yorktown's next words, however, revealed the subject of his venomous ire. That rotted corpse of a king, the corrupt nobles, the traitorous so-and-sos of Winnipeg, they weakened her, sapped her of all her strength and determination. On this I swear they shall all be. Tobias held his tongue. For the Lord spoke treason against the crown itself, and it was then that he entered her room and paid his final heartfelt respects to the woman that had raised him as her own. There he remained to grieve until the sun's glow began to wane, and the shadows cast long. Finally, as the Lord said his final goodbye, Tobias presented him with the Duchess's will. The butler watched him as he read it, the Marshal's eyes widening and narrowing as he darted back and forth across the document. He turned to look at Tobias, and spoke in a tone as cold as the frigid lakes. "Gather the ducal cabinet. There is much work to be done." A regency. Okay. This is set off a countdown to the Yorktown's rebellion. When the timer runs out, we will go to war with the Kingdom of Mantobia. Don't mind us, Metis Congress. Apparently, we have bigger fish to fry.
Hello.
We'll need to put a dude down here. But I don't have any dudes anywhere, so this is a bit of a moot point right now. Okay. Okay, but only if he's going to sacrifice everything. Fine, I kind of start to feel where this is going. What have we got in terms of stuff we can do for this rebellion? Anything? Currently, no. I guess this is it. History weights. Okay, hang on, someone else. Three Rivers, where are you? Over here, you want to end the long-standing conflict. Okay. Are we going to join their side? Interesting. Okay, it's more wars. There's going to be a lot of wars that kick off soon. My lord, the time has come, explained Tobias. We'll make our moves soon. There's no time to dwell until we see the conflict through. Say the word and I'll have our riders send out to rally our loyalists to your banner. Good, because I need units. Yorktown kept gazing out the palace window. The heavy rain clattered against the layer of glass. How many will answer the call? Tobias replied. Individually, my lord, few. But with enough work, a worthy coalition can be mustered. The butcher pulled out a notepad before adjusting his spectacles. As you will recall, most veteran knights were posted across the Duchy following the disbandment of the orders. The memory of your deeds lives on in their hearts. I doubt many will hesitate to rally at your side. The same is true of their regulars. Tobias glanced to the Marshal. Alone they will hardly do. The Fort Cap Hell forces, the Exile, the remnants of Horst Dauphin in the north. I'm afraid some level of compromise is called for. Yorktown remained quiet for a time, taking in the man's words. Do you think we stand a chance, Tobias? The royal butler immediately caught on to the slight quiver in the Marshal's voice. Are you afraid of failing Sophie, my lord? The Marshal finally turned, a newfound look of steel determination washing across his face. Get my coat. We're moving out. Oakley dokley. Right, expand our armory. 3 workshops. Or 1,000 guns. I think workshops, probably. Okay, that's more stuff. Okay, land doctrines. That's 500 manpower. 4 units militia or 2 units of infantry. I think we'll go for the infantry. Right, let's give the workshops first. During the War of the Coalition, Yorktown's armory established itself as the Duchy's primary arms producer and supplier. In light of our limited manpower, Sophie failed to see much point in expanding its manufacturing capabilities following the conflict. That needs to change. And yeah, hopefully, I think this is going to kick off if we get anywhere close to robots, but we'll give that a go. We have got a year. It's not that long. Okay, we finished construction. More construction. Let's get that on the go. Right. I mean, is it worth doing some basic robots? Why not? We've said we're going to give it a go. Let's give it a go, eh? Okay. Hang on. I need to... Minorly parched. Within the Duchy of Langenburg, there remained one more major faction with the power to stack the odds in the Marshal's favour. The Exiles of Fort Cap Hell. Originally acting as enforcers for the House of Warwick in the city of Regina, they were displaced following the Metis uprising that brought an end to the family's rule over the southern duchy. In the decades that followed, they kept a largely low profile, living out quiet lives in the western outskirts of the duchy, keeping watch over everyday lowlives and renegades. That was until the War Republican Coalition. Once the Metis armies were driven back, Yorktown had to practically negotiate with the Exiles leaders to dissuade them from undertaking a revenge tour through Regina. On that day, their lingering hatred for the insurgents was made plain for all to see, and so too did the extensive stockpile of weapons they had retained since their initial escape. Interestingly, neither Sophie nor Gun II, that's the current king of Mantobia, ever moved to requisition the weaponry. Perhaps they thought the Exiles' zealousness could eventually be put to good use, and it would appear that day has come at last. They say it is best to let sleeping dogs lie, but this one had fangs unlike any Yorktown had seen before. Promising an eventual march into Regina should be an alluring enough proposition to secure Exile support, but what then? Once let loose, Yorktown would struggle to prevent them from unleashing vengeance on every man or woman with ties or loyalties to Metis Congress. That would send a clear message, no doubt. But this is the kind of bloody precedent the Marshal wants to set for his new realm. Oakley dokley, we can get 100 manpower, 200 bits of dynamite, and a couple of unit leaders. Or nah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a downside later on. For sure. Let's get there. Because what we could do, when we don't have any experience, is stick demolition units in our frontline troops to make them a little bit stronger. You want us to pay? The Blighted Woods demand us to pay. I'm going to say no. I'm not sure we can stop them raiding us, but I'm going to say no anyway. So this is one of the people you can buy weaponry and gear from. But what they'll sell you depends on your relationship with them. And you start off just cheap, low-level gear, and if you do a lot of business with them, they rank up. So this is gonna hurt income because we're gonna reduce some tariffs, but really it's fine. Oh, you guys have got like motorized and all sorts. Oh, we look like Mounties! Okay, that's awesome. Things are happening. Okay, he was informed he'd be waiting in the courtyard. Yorktown expected a dozen, a couple dozen perhaps, if he was lucky. But when he emerged out of the ducal palace, Langenburg's proud coat of arms could be seen stretching out on beyond the gates. They all heeded his call, remnants of a disbanded knight's order, up-and-comers cast out by jealous and insecure brass, the unsavoury types who were not afraid to bend the rules to get results. The eldest of the group stepped forth. Not one man recoiled when the herald came to us. We are yours to command. Yorktown placed his hand on his shoulder. In standing with me today, you've just secured a better tomorrow. Let us fight to our last breath to ensure it is not squandered. Yes, my lord. One thing I point out, which is obvious, but maybe you haven't considered it. So obviously all this is just made by just folks in their spare time. It's wildly impressive. Wildly, right. We got Ohm's Law. We're slightly ahead of time for that one. We could do these bits and pieces. Max factories. Factory output 12% sounds awesome. Hurts our efficiency a little bit. Or this is even more factories, less output, and a little bit more population. Scooch more population. I'm tempted to try and make the ones we've got more efficient, because we have such a big malice on building the dastardly things. Let's go work assignments. And then if we're trying to lean into robots, then our population hopefully isn't as big a thing. Right, how are we doing? Oh man, we do not have enough stuff, do we? Nowhere close. Okay. I badly need guns, which we're working on. Okay, we can modify our government. Okay. So usually I would go get some of these economic advisors first. Because let's be honest, they are pretty darn good. Now this is interesting. I would make our infantry equipment 20% cheaper to produce. That's a chunk. Now it does hurt reliability, but I don't think that's too much of an issue, to be honest. And we wouldn't need this position forever and a day. That's definitely one to consider. Other kind of things are good to get early on is like this one, which gives you more population, which is quite nice. I'll probably grab the robot one at some point if we are really committed to this robot nonsense that I've said we're going to be. Okay, vehicles, ships, and planes I don't care so much about. Okay, we're gonna pick up that one as well, which means we might not get the medical one for once. Or of course we could get it and change it and replace it. That's very true. Oh, let's get you, so I get ticking army experience, so I can start making changes and things. Always useful. Always useful. Okay, the Duchess deal. Over the course of several weeks, Yorktown travelled from settlement to settlement across the land in hopes of mustering support from some minor counts and title holders within the Duchy of Langenburg. He saved the most troublesome for last. Duchess Belores of the fallen house of Dauphin. The titular settlement was once a source of Manitoba's naval prowess, boasting a large old world port connected to the greater Lake Winnipegus through a narrow river strait. During the course of the war, Republican coalition, hubris got the best of Belores' father, who failed to recognise the trap he was being lured into. Oh, it timed out. I should have paused it. I forgot those things timed out. Okay, I was trying to be efficient. I was not efficient. So something happened. I don't know what the outcome of that. Straight right. We have set up a scavenging authority. We probably don't have any guns for them though. No, we don't. So you can send out teams to go scavenging in the Fallout universe, and if they find things, you get to keep them. So you can find equipment. They can also find schematics, which lets you then build equipment. This is pretty good. Yeah, I have no idea what that got us. Oh well, hopefully it wasn't too important. Might have been a boat or something. Pause this time. Right. What do you mean you let them through, I said. An all-too-familiar voice bellowed out from behind the marshal. Hey, Leafy. Yorktown let out a deep sigh, summoning every ounce of patience left in him. As he turned, he was met with the pearly white smile and fiery locks of his cousin. Hello, Eric. It has been some time. Eric sat in front of the marshal's desk, kicking his heels over his surface. Tell me about it. Alright. We get some river guards. Yorktown becomes an economic advisor. Is he any good? Yeah. I also wanted to... Well, also unit leaders. Place you to have... Actually... 2211. I mean, these guys are better for supply. I thought, given some of them were special events, that they would be better, and they're kind of not. Alright, we'll keep Earl Grey. I just spotted that.
Sir.
River guards. Fine, join the line. Right, we'll get rid of that one because it's not important. Okay, we've expanded our armory. That's really good. And then we can go down here and get a couple of civilian factories, which I would like to do. And then we need to get... I'm going to get these ones out of the way so I know better for our time. Oh, hang on. Just need to do them all. Okay, let's get them done. For us to come out victorious in a prolonged war, we require an industry to rival that of the kingdom. Time is of the essence. I shall have to call in some favours with the Earl of Grey. Hang on, I've got... How long have I got before the war kicks off? 217 days. 60. 120. 180. 210. Oh no, it requires one of them. Okay, I'm going to have to go down here and see if we can get something to kind of extend this after it, because I don't think we're going to get through all these. Considering we're doing our best here. Yeah, I need to do one of that, that, and that. I don't think there's time for all this. We have certain... Which I think might be good for us. Hey, we'll give it a go. Unknown benefactor. Yorktown swung open the doors of a ducal armory, the smell of gunpowder and cold steel immediately assaulting his senses. On site were a handful of guards, dragging the last of the crates from outside. One of them sprinted over to the Marshal. "Please, my lord, we've not had the opportunity to fully inspect the shipment yet," and Yorktown dismissed him. Approaching a dozen or so containers had been dragged to the back of the room. He grabbed a nearby crowbar and cranked open one of the sealed crates, rifles and ammunition boxes, just like all the rest. Nothing exactly flashy or state-of-the-art, but sturdy, efficient, and most importantly, easy for anyone to wield. One of the patrols had found crates scattered in front of the place, in front of the palace gates in the dead of night. The Marshal's mysterious benefactor using the cover of blizzard to go by undetected. Whoever they may be, they must sit within the Marshal's inner circle, someone aware of Yorktown's plans for the Duchy. Whatever the case, the Sword of the North was not about to let this investment go to waste. Oh, ooh, advanced weaponry. Now it's going to get diluted out through all our forces, but that's like many tiers above what we can currently produce. I'm going to speed 5 again. Scrap bot is done. So yes, that's advanced weaponry up here, which we can't even do. Do I want any of this stuff? Not really making any of that stuff, to be honest. This is all next year before it's available. I might just stick on the robotics. I'm not going to do any tech. Oh, that's ahead of time. Was the robot one ahead of time? Perhaps. Okay, in that case, let us just grab recycling. Improvised tools done. Let's go increase resource production. So that's just your trading items and your stuff you need for your production. One. We have one factory. I'm not sure this was the best thing to do, to be honest. I'm not sure 2 factories is really going to make a difference. Remnant of days gone by. Yorktown lightly knocked against Duke Anger's office door, waiting patiently as the sound of ruffling papers grew ever closer. Eventually a light gap creaked open, a lone eye scanning the Marshal. "Oh, greetings, Leaf. Excuse me for a second." The door closed for a moment before suddenly swinging open. The man on the other side appeared weary, his face sunken. "What can I do you for?" muttered the Duke as he waded past piles of manuscripts scattered across the floor on the way to his desk. Yorktown carefully treaded around them, a mixture of nautical maps, archival records recovered from Anger's ducal library, old blueprints of a shield wall to the east. Cutting straight to the chase, the Marshal pulled out Sophie's will from his coat pocket, handing it over to the Duke. "Read the final paragraph." The fallen noble unfolded the document, scanning its final few lines with an increasingly apprehensive look in his eyes. "Just what on earth are you planning? Have you summoned His Majesty to Langenburg yet?" Yorktown's stern expression spoke for itself. The Duke's gaze fell. "You are still holding on, my friend. I am here to lighten the burden. No need for it to remain a pipe dream." The Duke pulled away from his desk, sinking his head into his palm. "Still no word from the colonies, I take it?" Yorktown pressed. "None," responded the Duke, an audible knot forming in his throat. He looked away for a moment. "What would you have me do, Leaf?" Yorktown responded without hesitation. "When the day comes, there is no other man I would rather keep watch over the coastline and hold the line if need be." The Duke remained silent for a moment, and his anguish looked slowly turning. "Do you promise, Leaf, to check on them, of what remains?" Duke Angers becomes a naval advisor. Okay. A Day of Infamy. The American invasion of Canada 200 years ago. Nice. Okay, we've got our industrial backbone. Let's grab this knight's plot. This way a day long awaited. By Yorktown's orders and Alexander Weyburn's hand, the banishment of Knight's decree shall be rendered void. The veteran warriors and their descendants are already flocking to the capital. Good. I need men. Lots of men. Else things are going to go awry. Okay, ahead of time. I always find this in the first year where I kind of run out of meaningful things to do. I mean, we could just grab that for the sake of grabbing that. But some of this earlier stuff, really, do we need melee weaponry? Probably not. I would like chems, but It's just a pipe dream right now. Alright, do you know what? Let's just grab that. It's a bit of a placeholder. Okay, we have units we can deploy. Drop you in here. You can go on that. Modify government. Yeah, I would like the construction stuff, but I think we may have to hold out on that for just now. Stability, me, recruitable pop. They are good. I just don't know how immediately awesome they are. Although, likewise, the war guy's not going to do too much for me right now. But you know what, let's get them in place, because I want these ones in place before the war starts, which is very, very unusual. Normally I go focus heavily on economy and infrastructure, but I have a bad feeling things are going to get very violent very quickly. Okay, we got resource production. I'm not sure we're going to be building more of the resource buildings. So again, this stuff's not critical. But it's also, sorry, it's naval tech, I'm not interested in that. It is also, I suppose, not ahead of time. But then, if everything's ahead of time, you just pick one you want and go for it. Alright, we'll just grab that one. Slightly ahead of time, but womp womp. The knight's plot is done. Leading the search for the knights in exile was Alexander Weyburn, son of a fallen Grand Master of the Order of Archangel. Archangel. The young man's presence was instrumental in convincing some of the more despondent veterans out in the far-flung reaches of the north to make their return. Many agreed on one condition, that Alexander take up his father's mantle and officially restore the order following its dismemberment at the hands of the cowardly Manitoban nobles. And so, in a day filled with pomp and ceremony, Alexander raised the sacred standard last seen trampled at the Battle of Yorktown. There, in the ducal chapel, he gave the pledge of the Archangel before the Order's remnants, solemnly offering his heart for the people of Manitoba. He would protect the rightful king until the day God took him from the earth, be it from enemies without or within. So we now get... Oh, okay, so this is where we get all our ability to research special forces stuff, and makes our special forces better. And actually, Alexander Weyburn is awesome.
Hey.
So you're out. You're in. Oh my god, that's a great portrait. And we can start doing some special forces stuff and maybe get ourselves some knights. Alright, like... No? Well, no, these things are not that important. I'm not building those things. Yeah, why not? Where is my... Special forces stuff? Oh, we've already got the only thing we can get. It's a bully for us. Fine. Stuff's miles ahead. We should probably get chems. Let's get chems. If I can get chems in my units, I will. That's hospitals from HOI 4. Again, just to protect our manpower. Although our manpower is not terrible. What is more terrible is our ability to produce guns. You are short of weapons and weapons. Alright, we'll wait till you are popped out and then we'll put some more into training. Oh god, I'm not doing this. Thankfully it does save up. Oh, I think I went over the time. Okay. After its prime, the Order of Archangel was truly a terrifying force. At any one knight was capable of cutting down an entire squad of men all on their lonesome. Clad head to toe in the knight's finest armour, their mere presence on the battlefield was capable of swinging the tides of battle on morale alone. With many of those same men under our command once more, we stand ready to reclaim the days of glory. Get some dudes. Combat language, it's done. I mean, I don't really need decryption. Let's just grab a sword because we can. And here. Oh, we should absolutely be doing this. Are we going to go conventional warfare? Although if we're going to go robots... Yeah, but that's only once we have robots. Although this benefits our whole army. No, there's some good benefits here, I think. Some are robot specific, some are not. We did this in our last playthrough, so let's switch. I'll spend that to speed us up since we're starting behind. Foolish given I don't have a single robot at the minute, but you know. I'm of course foolishly planning ahead, right? I'll not worry too much about things happening in the world which are not directly related to us. Right, there's that one done. So we need 150 days. We don't have 150 days. And I know I messed up slightly, but not by that much. Don't know what we could have done about that. Oh, I'm an idiot. These ones go much quicker. Oh, that's how you do it. You make a choice. So 30, 60, 90. 85.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
That's exactly how we could have done it if I hadn't messed up that. Oh, I think I might have torpedoed this. Okay, I understand. You've got to pick one of these. And one's on the outside.
And with that stunning realization of my own ineptitude, we're actually going to bring this first episode to a close. So a couple of things. First of all, I do appreciate this first one's very word and text heavy. It's just how they get the story out for whatever faction you're playing at the start of this game. And we do get into a lot more kind of action shortly thereafter. Secondly, as you did see, I messed up with the focus tree. I left the national focus unselected, and that kind of messed up our timings. And so what actually happened shortly after this is the war kicked off through failure rather than event, and I was unhappy with the way it was going. So we ended up going back, and we essentially sped run through the first part of the game, and it goes surprisingly quick when you don't stop to read walls of text. So I'm not going to bother showing you all that, because essentially we make all the same choices. So when we're going to come back in the next episode, it's going to be the same point, but it's going to be actually a new run, because I want to kind of follow the story and see where that took us. But I'll mention that at the start of the next video. And finally, if you are enjoying this, it is the first video in a series, so I would appreciate a like or a comment or some kind of engagement, just for the algorithm. I don't like to do these call to action very often, but every now and again the first episode of a series seems like a reasonable thing to do. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Cheerio!